For what could be known about God is plain to them, because God has shown it to them. For his invisible attributes, mainly his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the things that have been made, so they are without excuse. This says everyone knows God, capital G God. Everybody knows the triune God of Scripture. It is obvious. There is no such thing as an atheist. Why? That's what God said. I don't write the mail, I deliver the mail. There is no such thing as an atheist. What they do is they suppress the truth and unrighteousness. If you remember when you were a kid, you ever take a big soccer ball, you try to push it underneath the swimming pool. It pops up every now and then, you got to put it back under. And whenever unbelievers use truth, use logic, define good and evil, that ball pops back up and they suppress it back down. They are showing that they're made in God's image, whether they know it or not. And at the very, very end of that passage, it says that they are without excuse. They are without an apologetic. And the term apologetic just means a defense, how you would defend something in court. They are unapologetus in the Greek. You don't have any good reason to not believe in God, because what is known about God is clearly shown in nature. Well, if they know God, how come not everyone goes to heaven? If everyone knows God, how come people go to hell? And what I've heard said is that people have enough knowledge of God for their condemnation, just not enough for their salvation. People have enough for their condemnation, just not enough for their salvation. Everyone knows God. That's why we send missionaries out to remote parts of the world, because they know God exists. If they didn't, that would be cruel. Because the reason why people go to hell is not for not believing in Jesus, because they all believe in Jesus. People go to hell because of their sin that they need to be redeemed from. The baseline is sin and unbelief, believing in false gods. Rejecting God is a symptom of the disease of sin. I've heard it said like this: if rejecting Jesus is the foundation for someone going to hell, why would you send a missionary to tell someone about Jesus? Because then now they have the opportunity to reject Jesus. Sending someone to tell someone about Jesus so they could reject Jesus, you just increase their chance of going to hell by 100%. Sending missionaries would be cruel. But you know what? It's not cruel. Why? Because they know God exists. And they need to not suppress the truth. They need to profess the truth. And that is the only difference between us as believers and the unbelievers. Unbelievers suppress the truth. We profess the truth. We can know God for certain because God has revealed himself clearly, that everyone knows him. And we can know scientific and natural truths because of God. The heavens declare the glory of God. The sky proclaims his handiwork. You can look at nature, the order and design of the universe, the laws of logic and nature, and show, hey, there is a creator, and not just any creator, the God of Scripture as creator. And we can know morality because of God. It says that God's law, his moral standards, is written on our hearts. We all have a conscience. That's why serial killers who don't have a conscience, who chop up people or do terrible things, and they think that's good, that doesn't correspond to reality. It is not true that all those things are good. And this is why God in the Old Testament, he can hold pagan nations accountable for sins even though they don't have the Bible. God holds everyone to the same standard. God held pagan nations to the same standard as he did Jerusalem. I forgot the name of the pagan nation, but they built their city based on blood and violence and slaves. And Jerusalem got to the same exact point, and God judged them both. And the pagan nation didn't say, hey, you can't judge us. We don't have the Bible, Yahweh. Nope. Everyone knows right and wrong because God has written it on our hearts. We all know what is right and wrong because we're all God's image bearers, and we all were created in his image because we all know God.